I'll toss it over to you.
First of all, I'm Preetam Arora. I'm with Design Engineering Inc. I'm the civil engineer as well. I have a client, last name is same, they're not related. You go ahead and introduce yourself.
Not Janak Arora,
Ashwani Arora.
but we are not related.
One of the client who I worked for recommended that we help them.
Yeah.
So we had a meeting and we're still ongoing. First of all, thanks for the comments. We have received all the DRC comments, have printed it, have reviewed it, and have pretty much responded internally, but have not responded it via e-plans. We are here to discuss some of the key comments. We feel the key comments was one of the fire marshal comment. I already talked to Mary Lubaugh. I'm not sure she's on the line right now.
She's not on right now.
Understood. She understood that there is one need for a new fire hydrant to be added, and the location will be based on WSSC. She did not agree whether the location can be 100 feet from the intersection, but there is a need for one fire hydrant. As far as the road width is concerned, it is more than 20 feet. It is a rustic road. It is shown on the plan. Pavement width will be added on the plan, so that addresses the comment for the fire marshal. We will send that via e-plans response as well. The main question was that septic has not been addressed. We have submitted all the perk testing, all the water table testing. I believe Benham Heidi is not online right now, but we have already coordinated. She is?
Yes.
Okay, understood. I have already sent about a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks roughly, all the plans dealing with the 4-bedroom. Lot 1 was 5 or 6 bedroom. Lot 2, 4-bedroom. Lot 3, 4-bedroom. And lot 1 is existing. I presume it is 5-bedroom. There's no change being made to the lot 1 septic. Lot 2 septic is new. Part of the septic will be along the front initial and 1 reserve, and part of the septic will be along the rear, the 2 reserve. We're under a special category under the restricted source service. As a result, the need for septic is not initial and 2 reserve, it is initial and 3 reserve. Therefore, we are showing that on our plan. Same thing on lot 3. We have a 4-bedroom. There are 2, 1 initial, 1 septic reserve on the front, and there are 2 reserves on the back. This will be coordinated at length. Again, the main issue beyond septic, one of the key one, why we're here as well, is the layout issue. We understood the layout requirement that the angle, the site should be 90 degrees. We're also in conflict with the septic regulation, which has been revised recently or maybe a couple of years back, that septic easement across the lot is not permitted. As long as septic easement is permitted, the line can be straightened all the way 90 degrees. The reason we are showing the angled line primarily to accommodate the septic. If this was a water and sewer project, there'll be no need to have the angled line. We can go straight. We are providing 150 feet frontage as zoning. We're providing the minimum side setback for the building. We're providing the rear setback as well. The main question is it possible to have an angle line on the side after the building? Not before the building, but after the building. We can still make a angled line 90 degrees, but it'll be offset. With a pipe stem lot, many lots were done previously on number of large sites where the sidelines are not exactly 90 degrees. So we're wondering whether the septic regulation conflict, if the easement is on the same or abutting lot, then the line can be straightened, well straight line more or less. So the question is, one of the lot 1 had an existing access driveway. It was built like in the I presume about 60 years ago. That driveway is kind of not straight. It's kind of a circular. We can easily make that line 90 degrees. We didn't do that because we were trying to avoid the ingress egress easement. So based on your recommendation today, if you prefer between the lot 1 and lot 2 line, it can be easily straightened. So line will be straight. Between lot 1 and lot 2, again, the issue is primarily related to the septic. We have the option to put a ingress egress easement on a portion of the lot 2 driveway. The easement will be on for lot 2 on lot 1, and the line can be straightened. For the rear line, we have to keep it because it's part of the septic. So we're really saying to you, the septic is really controlling it. In addition to septic, stormwater management has a new policy as well. I'm not sure whether Mark is on the line from stormwater management, or Andrew is on the line.
Yeah.
The reason it is new, the record plat, once recorded, the requirement is the stormwater management for each lot must be on the same lot. Even though we have the option to put a bigger area, more impervious area on one side, we're trying to make so that the stormwater management is on lot by lot basis. And that's another regulation which is not part of the old subdivision regulation. So there are two justifications for you right now. We can go further if you like on that comment on the layout.
Can we pause and just see if Heidi wants to jump in at all on
Please.
the water and sewer, or if Mark wants to jump in?
Please.
Sure. Hi, hi, good morning, everyone. This is Heidi with DPS Well and Septic. So like Pretam said, the proposed septic plan has been submitted for review. It hasn't been reviewed yet, but the point of that is to look at all the perk test results and the proposed design, septic area design for each of the lots. The septic areas on the lots are split up into non-contiguous septic areas, but as Pretam said, we do not, for the last 10 years, we have not allowed septic easements to create new building lots. So there cannot be any easements across the property lines to serve the other lots. So we have some septic areas in the front and some in the back, and that will be reviewed for compliance. And I'm sure we will have some comments about those that we'll get back to the applicant. Lot 1 has an existing septic area that was established previously.
Thank you.
Heidi, this is Alan Sukup.
Hi, Alan.
Does the existing septic area on lot 1 meet current standards?
That will be determined. So the existing septic area as it was originally approved was fine. However, I think there are some changes being made. So that will be determined upon review of the latest plan that was submitted.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is Mark Etheridge. I'll step in on the stormwater real quick. Since we instituted ESD practices back in 2010, each lot has to have its own stormwater management on the lot unless they form a separate stormwater parcel and there's an HOA to oversee that in a larger sense. That doesn't seem to be very practical here. So Pretam is correct. Each lot does need to provide its own stormwater management.
Thank you. To answer the question for the septic, the lot 1, no change. We're going to propose on lot 1. Whatever changes are shown will be deleted. It will be the existing septic to remain. We can go further on the next item if that's okay with you. There are very many comments on the forest conservation. We have reviewed all of them. We have redone the Excel. What I did was exactly right, 2.67. I sent it over to the landscape architect the other day. He was not in town. He's going to come back and review them. All other comments will be addressed with respect to the details. He understood that the details were not right. He also understood that the font and some of the stuff should be clarified, and some of the NRI boundary will be deleted. We may not upload it for a couple of days, but he's not in town. He said he'll be back in a couple of days, and we'll address that with him once we take the plan back to him. Some of the stuff like the LOD and the utilities were not shown purposely for coordination purposes at this time. So we are adding all the utilities are there on the plan, preliminary plan. All the LODs are there as well, and we'll have only one legend for the LODs. So that addresses the key comment. Please go ahead.
For the record, I'm Doug Johnson, environmental reviewer. Pretam, you made a comment earlier that piques my interest. If I understood you correctly, you were saying that you are adding asphalt to roadway width. Is that true?
No, none. I said that the existing pavement width was not shown clearly, and fire marshal wanted to know what the width of the existing pavement is. We've added that as 21 feet plus minus. The rest
Because my follow-on question, that were the truth, are you staying below the 15% cap for the water quality plan?
way below that. Way below that. We have the stormwater management report. I can read to you lot by lot.
No, that's fine. You just said, I thought
No,
I misunderstood you when you're saying asphalt. I thought you're adding asphalt.
I understood.
Okay.
Again, thank you for your comments and we'll address all of them. And we mostly agree with the comments anyway. There's no question at all. Coming back to the transportation comments, we have sent the storm drain report recently. We may not be able to address those comments right now. We're asking for a meeting. I sent it to Deepak the other day. He was out of town. He may be online right now. Again, we'll have a meeting with them to address those comments. One of the site distance, his comment was that the existing driveway site distance is also required. We typically don't provide site distance. We presume that the existing driveway when it was built under that standard, but we will redo that and provide the site distance plan and profile for the existing driveway as well. For the new driveway, we'll add the maximum site distance as well. So that comment takes care of that. Drainage is an issue. We have analyzed the existing pipe. The site drains to the existing 18-inch HDPE pipe under Glen Mill Road. That pipe has been determined to be adequate under the stormwater management report, which is pretty lengthy. We added that report, storm drain report as well. And this addresses the impervious area in a lot more in detail. Regarding the SPA, which is the WQI requirement from stormwater management, SPA meeting was held. It was decided that based on the SPA meeting, based on the impervious area, we do not have to submit a SPA plan. However, we did submit water quality inventory, and that sediment control concept was submitted, is under review right now, and we are less than 15%, way less than 15% on the entire site as well as each lot as well. Please.
I have a question. My name is Atul Sharma. I work in the director's office. When you all looked at the layout, was there any consideration to maintaining a similar setback for these new houses as is proposed, as it exists in the neighborhood on both sides of the street, really? Because right now there seems to be a more or less consistent building wall frontage on both sides of the house. The new lots that you're proposing are much deeper. The houses are set back much deeper from the street, which is going to look a little bit different than what exists today. So we just wanted to ask the question as to whether you looked into that, whether it's possible to adjust the footprints in a way that would still give you the septic, fields in the right locations, but still maintain the character of the street with the houses facing the street at sort of similar distances as along the street.
Again, thank you for your question. We understood the question very well. What we did, we followed the Glen Mill Lot 1 location. We did not know where the septic area for Lot 1 is. We were asked to get the new testing done for the Lot 1. As a result of that, the only area available for septic on the Lot 1 is on the front. It's a 6-bedroom, has already been tested. And Lot 1 distance.
Could you just pull up the plan when you get a chance?
And I'm on a 40 scale. The Lot 1 distance from the right of way proposed is approximately 200 some plus feet. And the distance for the Lot 2 and 3 is approximately similar. And we were guided by the septic regulation. We were trying to get that gravity feed septic on the front. Typically, that's the normal requirement. We have no idea because it's a matter of contours, seeing where the septic is on the other lot across the street, or they're connected to the sewer line, which I think they are not. So the question is primarily the septic has driven that. Now, septic has already been tested, work has already been tested, water table has already been tested. It'd be difficult to change that. If septic was not an issue, we could move the home wherever you like. That's not a question at all from our point of view. If you look at the septic plan, we have one initial and one reserve on the front, which requires a pretty large area. The area required is approximately more than 10,000 square feet because the septic results are not very favorable along the front. Why? Because the depth of the trench is very, very shallow. If the depth of the trench was 4 feet, we could have reduced that as well, but still won't make a difference because we didn't want to go back, put a septic at the back as well. So septic has driven the setback as well, if that answers your question. And the distance on the opposite side, on one of the home is approximately 100 feet. The other one, the first one, is much larger. you will see that the distance is approximately 150 feet. But this home here on the Cutter's Lane is well far off. This home is well far off. So if you look at the Glen Mill side, you will see that we are respecting as best as we could. If septic was not a concern, it could still be changed.
So Pretem, just for us to understand, you're saying that the septic as shown has been tested and works, and that's why you're showing it where it's shown.
It barely works. The answer is yes.
Well, just to clarify, are you saying that you did not test septic where the houses are shown? So in other words, if we were to flip the houses with the septic field that you're showing, has that been tested yet?
It has not been tested.
Has not been tested.
It would add another layer, another couple of months.
Is there a reason for you to believe that it would not work at that location?
No, we cannot say that, that would be basically a bad judgment on my part.
Okay.
All I'm saying that we have not tested it. Our initial goal was to provide the layout as best, so more area for the septic is on the front. It's typically not, contours, the slope is towards the front. It's a good idea always to have a septic on the front rather than on the back. I have a septic home. I'm living on that for the last 50 years. We drain to the back because gravity is controlling it. You don't want to drain to the wrong side, if you can.
So you're saying the site slopes downwards from where the houses are?
The house is way downward. The answer is yes.
Behind the houses is all uphill, or does it also?
It's all uphill. We were forced to get those areas because the initial area was all planned to be on the front. So we had to spend more time, more testing done at the back in order to get the 4 bedrooms. So we can get a 2-bedroom right now, which will not be a single family. At least in our judgment.
Can you say?
If there are only 2-bedroom required, then we don't need the rear area. But right now, still, we are getting 4-bedroom only because we need more area. So therefore, we have a septic on the front and the back. We didn't want to have the septic at the back. It's always a good idea to go on the front.
Pretam, this is Heidi. I just want to add something that will be part of the comment. So whenever we have a split septic area where one of the areas cannot be in a gravity system cannot be installed, it has to require a pump, you will be required to install the pumped system first as the initial system. And so the systems that would use gravity would be the replacement systems. So that initial, okay.
We understood
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
I guess a question we would have is if that's the case in which you're building the pump system first and the gravity fed is the replacement or the additional provision, then and you're showing septic both in the front and the back of the lot.
Right now, the septic is not tested, what I'm saying. That's the issue. Glad a lot of time and money and resource go back and retest that area.
And we need both, the septic area is required to be both in the front and the back because of the square footage that is required due to the shallow nature of the systems.
Yep, and I guess the question really I'm trying to get at is if they're going to do the pump system and the volume of it is, if the volume of the pump system can be to a degree that it can be installed first and be either in the front or the back really, would there be a way to adjust the location of the footprints of the houses in that the houses can come a little bit closer to the street? It's a.
All I said there was a septic right now was not done, testing was not done. That's whole, I'm not saying anything different. All I'm saying the septic testing will have to be done in our judgment. And we are honoring the Glen Mill home, which I think, if I remember right, he has spent substantial amount of money in the last couple of months to improve the Glen Mill. It was a very old home, but it's now in the tip-top shape. So the goal was that, hey, gee, it's not something, a very old home, or will be demolished, let's put it that way. Plus all of the septic on the Glen Mill is on the front, all of that.
And the Glen Mill home is on
Is the lot one,
lot 1.
12,900 Glenville, is existing home. I can show it to you on the picture if you like.
Yeah, I think it'll be good to just. It's this one.
This is the first one, it's existing.
Okay.
Been there for like
I'm gonna
60
put
years.
up this picture here.
They have technical comments.
Could you put the drawing back up for those online?
Yeah, we're attempting to, Patrick, I think,
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
All right.
But it's on the, just for the people who are virtually, that house is all the way to the left of the lot.
That's exactly right.
And so they're trying to match the setbacks to that structure versus the structure which is on the right.
And the lots are fairly large, and it's not like that we are using like the all the way on the back. And some homes are like that, go all the way. I have a question on the comment on the MCDEP. We have looked at that, and it's my understanding that the special exception, whatever needed, will be applied, and we will address that.
The
So we'll-
exception for the S1.
Right, we'll apply that. We thought we don't have to, but now we understand we have. It's a matter of simply applying for it.
Okay, so you're not intending to use that approved connection?
There's no need, no intent.
Okay. You understand that because of that, the conditional approval for a proposed extension that would come up to the house and also serve the property across the street, there's no reason to do that.
There's no reason, I don't see that from Ashwini's point of view, the client, he understood that we are not asking for any connection for the sewer. We understood right from the beginning.
Okay. Then you need an exception for
Yeah.
the S1.
We'll definitely apply.
And as part of that, as part of the explanation for that, I would appreciate getting some comment from you or the applicants about the sewer connection that was approved,
Understood.
that you're not intending to use that,
We'll summarize that.
and whether or not the property should revert to S6.
Understood. We are using the septic category based on S6.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'll be one initial and only two results.
Because using the sewer for lot 1, which you're apparently not proposing to do,
We're not.
would create a problem with regard to the Piney Branch sewer policy
Understood.
that says you can't use sewer in Piney Branch to promote subdivision of a parcel into more than one lot.
We have explained that and right in the beginning,
Okay,
they understood that.
okay, good.
We had a meeting way back.
Alan, does the timing for them to apply for the S1, right?
Yes.
What comes first? Because now we have a subdivision in, does that need to occur before an
I
application?
think it needs to
can move
occur during the subdivision process. You know, as soon as you have an opportunity to submit that to us, then we can start working on it.
Okay, so basically running parallel more or less.
ahead?
Understood.
My question, I guess, on the second part to that, does it need to be approved for us to take this forward?
Yes, but I think it would be. I have to consult in the department, but, and maybe with council staff.
Okay.
But if they're really not intending to use the sewer connection that's available to them, that's the way we want things in the RE2 and Potomac.
Right.
Our understanding was that it was just a submission and the exception only, not the category change. That's what we understood.
What I'm saying is a follow-up to the exception.
There will be a
What we
change.
may want to do is do a correction that moves the Aurora's property back into category S6.
We understood, that, but that's not approval, as you said.
Right.
Approval is not, it's just
No,
the
approval is
exception
just-
approval.
And we'll send that to PRC.
Understood. I'm looking at all the comments. I want to make sure that we have addressed all the comments. If anything is left, we can, I have a written comment on every one of these from the plans. We just copied everything and printed it. Want to make sure that there's no other comment outstanding or anything we can address right now.
I think that what I'm hearing is that there are some questions about the location of the houses in relationship to the septic fields. I think that, what you're showing here, and I have the image up on the screen,
Please, I can go there if you like.
but, what I'm reading here is that you have the initial septic fields established in the front of the property, between the house and the road, but then you also are designating some areas in the rear as reserved septic fields.
There is a reserve also along the front.
But wouldn't that mean that you've tested already the rear if you're designating
They already
that?
been tested.
Tested already the rear.
We had to double test it because that's the reason we got late, because it did not work. So we had to test again second time,
Okay.
all the area. They already been tested and we have found that they are acceptable, even though the review is ongoing, but the perk test rates are okay.
So based on that, that's good news. I'm glad to hear that. But based on that, then wouldn't we be able to use those fields in the rear as their initial fields and move the
Just,
houses
we
forward?
have no option. But that's what we've been told, that we're going to be starting from the rear. That's what we're saying.
Right.
We need the initial and 3 reserves, and the lot 2 and lot 3 both have 1 initial and 3 reserve. Same thing is on lot 1. That was done 60 years ago. There was no record available whether it will pass the test, and we have found that the lot 1, which is 12,900 Glenmill, do pass the perk test for either 5 or 6 bedroom. Do you have any question? Ashwin, any question?
This is Patrick. I think what the team's trying to communicate is we do want to see the buildings move up closer to the road. We've heard everything you're saying. I think we need to explore that as we continue the review with Well and Septic and you. But ultimately, if we have to use both the front and the back, this is not an either or situation. Then at this point, let's try to explore moving the buildings closer to the road, oriented to the road a little better, and then understanding that we have to use both areas, both the front and back, to satisfy septic. So if what I'm hearing is that the entire site works for perking, you're confident of that, then it seems like we have some flexibility there. I'm not sure why that would cause some significant delay. It seems like we were having to do the pumping system anyway. So from our standpoint, right now, our comment is let's explore moving these buildings forward. And I don't see that causing a significant delay. But Heidi, correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Hey, it could, I mean, depending how far, it depends how much septic area in the front that's currently proposed will be lost due to the placement, the new placement of the house. So we have to stay 20 feet off those initial areas in the front from the house. And so depending on how much it encroaches into that septic area in the front, we have to make up for that. And that will likely require new perk testing, because we don't have extra septic area to work with. And I believe the proposed areas are bounded by the current perk test. I don't know that we can expand them to make up for area. So we would probably have to do some new perk tests, is my guess.
I can answer one question. Going 100 feet, it will pretty much take over both septic area lot 2 initial and reserve, because the location of the reserve 1 is pretty awkward and we don't have an area where we can really move to. Same thing is going to happen on lot 3. By moving to 100 feet, we lose pretty much most of the septic area, because 20 feet setback and the building does not leave any area which will be usable full. It has to be pretty much go to the back, unless we split the reserve, like 50% reserve on the front and 50%. That's pretty bad idea in our judgment.
Yeah, we can't do that. Yeah.
Patrick, our preference is that if that's okay with you, we can study it, but it's not working cost is one other thing, timing is another thing, and the Glen Mill road, lot would still be approximately over 200 feet. Because the Glen Mill right now, lot varies from 220 to approximately 250 feet. The home at 12-9 Glen Mill is not 90-degree or parallel to the road. It's pretty angled. And we are also angling it. If you see that the next home, pretty much in the same, but the next home, the lot 2, we could not because of the tight site. We could have angled that as well. Again, we can meet if you like, discuss that again. We're more than open for suggestion.
It might be.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Understood. Not hesitant at all.
Yeah.
We'll look forward.
What items are,
Any transportation comments to discuss today?
well, it sounded like, did you say Depop was the?
I sent all the drainage, and I did address, I was going to meet with him regarding the site distance, but I understand that existing driveway site distance still needed. That mean on Boswell as well as on the Glen Mill side, both. There are 2 existing driveways. One of the key comment on forest conservation was that the mitigation trees should be located along Boswell and Glen Mill. We didn't do that initially because we didn't have, septic was already planned there. We have the option right now, if everything goes all right, to locate on lot 2, some of the mitigation tree. We'll move that over there. Again, we are not using the lot 1 septic area on the front. So we have the option now to move that trees along the front, but the Boswell is running pretty much parallel. So we'll move most of those trees towards Boswell, not along Glen Mill. And lot 2, yes. Lot 3, no, because pretty tight. Glen Mill is pretty tight because won't fit a whole lot of trees there. We need the room there for drainage purposes or for some other stuff. So you will have it planned in which the tree mitigation will be on lot 2, mostly on Boswell. I'm not sure whether that agrees with you.
I want those trees spread out.
So basically you want to see the whole thing.
Now, they can, whether they go along Glen Mill or Boswell or along the property lines. What I don't want to see is all of the 26 mitigation trees clustered together like a forest.
We can split it right here along Boswell. We can split it right here along Boswell. We can now add some on lot 2. We can not need to add here or here. That was the only question.
Okay, what about, if you can't add to lot 3 and 4 along Boswell, what about along the property lines between the lots?
You mean from here to there?
Correct.
We have the option to add along this area right here. We can add that.
I mean, I'm not really particular on where they go as long as they're outside of any easements, rights of way.
Yeah, understood.
Right.
And
I think
you
that's
don't
very
want
helpful.
them in a forest stand.
No, right now they're shown, all 26 trees are clustered
Right.
as one big entity.
Yeah.
I want those mitigation trees spread out.
So, Preetham, I think part of all this, the layout of the septic fields, the layout of the house, the layout of the forest conservation trees, it's all tied together, as you know. So I think if we meet with you, we can try to solve all these problems simultaneously without making things too complicated.
We understand that. We'll be more than happy to meet. The other question was that we are not providing any forest conservation on site. Be all off site. We will discuss with you any banking available or any planting site available. If it is, we'll advise them. If not, we'll end up paying the fee. We understood that. We'll take the note out. There's no on-site forest allowed because of the area requirement, whatever. Unless there is a variance possible, there's some forest we have option to provide on-site, but I think you're saying under the regulation is not possible.
The issue becomes it's planning board policy. It's been planning board policy for over a decade now,
Understood.
is not to record category 1 conservation easements on small lots. Something less than 2 to 5 acres.
Category 2 is okay.
We don't want to encumber those property owners with a category 1 easement. Now, because you have forest on the property, we're not going to record a conservation easement over that forest, so you cannot count it as forest saved.
Can we do category 2, some areas where, no,
we don't-
that's what I thought I asked you. Again, I think we have addressed most of the question. We'll look for the meeting, and if any other question, we're still here.
So it sounds like we need a meeting on the general layout issues,
That's
but
right.
then also you mentioned you need a meeting with DOT as well.
I've requested it and we just want to wait, that's all.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, Christina, so we'll set the follow-up meeting here or,
Yes, I'll send something out tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's be no, it'll be just a DOT and primarily the layout, is that right?
Yes, yes, unless there's something else that you need.
Again, those are the key items from our point of view.
Should we include Heidi as well, I assume?
Yeah, I was gonna say, feel free to include me on there, Christina.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Anything else, Pat? Philip, sorry.
Thank you very much.
We can discuss some of the
Please.
smaller items at the follow-up meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Division, and this is the DRC meeting for Trevilla Road. The lead reviewer is Mark Beal. And the purpose of this meeting is really for the applicant to ask any questions you have based upon the comments you received. I'll ask Mark to highlight any of the major issues and then really turn it over to you. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Go ahead, Mark.
Morning, Mark Beal for the record. What we have here is a senior living 55 and older townhouse community off Trevilla Road. It's Potomac Subregion Master Plan. I think the major comment we had was from Alan, DEP.
Right.
Others, I think, were pretty minor and could be looked at, but Alan, do you want to talk about it?
Sure. And I talked to Josh about this the other day, the center parcel of this is approved for W6 and S1. I don't think we have any problem getting W1 for this parcel. It's just an artifact from I don't know how long ago. But because it's old, we put it in the planned sewer envelope. Now, the outside parcels were approved for single sewer hookups only under the abutting mains policy because they were in the RE2 zone when those actions went forward. And even at that time, they were not considered as part of the planned service envelope. Our concern is that the intent of those approvals, which were really to serve existing houses or replacements for existing houses, really aren't in the spirit of what's being proposed, which is what, 60 townhouses, I think, something along those lines. So what we are asking the applicants to do is to file new category change requests for the two outboard parcels. And let us take those to the council and see if they're willing to go forward with what you have planned. Obviously, I don't think you can squeeze everything you want to do onto the one center parcel. So we need to work with them on that. And there is one oddball comment in here on, I think it's on 13751, that service was to be provided to the parcels that can be served by gravity. I think that was a remnant from when we were proposing a pumping station for this subbasin that never went forward. So I'm not saying that we can ignore it, but we need to use that justification. However, they're proposing to grade this such that all of the townhouse would be served by gravity. So I think that gets us around that particular problem. But this is something that, we need to consult the council on because it goes outside of our authority.
What timelines are there for submitting water category?
You can submit the water and sewer category. Well, the water category change is fine. You can submit it anytime. We can probably do that administratively. So it would be, I would think we'd be done with it by the middle of the year. The other two would need to go to the council, and at this point, in our scheduling, that probably wouldn't be till next fall.
Fall of 2023.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
2023.
Yeah, we're in 20.
Okay. And when would you want the application in?
You can submit them anytime.
Right. I want to make sure that we don't miss it.
No. The deadline for the group we're collecting for the council right now is June 30th.
Okay. That's fine.
But on the middle parcel, the W6, the cutoff will be March 30th. January, February, March. Yep.
Okay, should we run to other things?
Do you have any other questions of
Not for that, no. Alan and I talked and we knew the process that we're going to run through, so.
We got to revise our dates, I believe.
I was gonna say, can this process run concurrently, or do you have to wait for all
No,
that?
this would be a preliminary plan.
First subdivision.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would be, I mean, the conditional use,
The conditional
Can
use is going to
continue.
have
APF determined its subdivision.
you know, what
hearings never wants it.
what we'll need to see is whether or not
Use.
the
Everything?
hearing examiner
Yeah, we'd have to
wants a
check, too.
decision on the sewer.
I'll do some
Before they
digging,
move
but
forward.
yeah, you might want to follow up also.
Typically, Scott, the way that we've heard it from the hearing examiner is if APF is going to be reviewed at subdivision, we would defer, but we need to have the assurances that we can do that. That it can be, it's tested and it's going to be, it fits within the APF standards. This one's probably a little awkward, I think, in terms of it needs an approval before us making that finding.
Right. So is there a reason that we can't get the category changed after conditional use? Because, and then the preliminary plan is where APF gets tested because it'll have the category change.
I think the team will have to talk about that.
Will
in
Lynn
terms
talk
of what.
to you about this or?
No, talk to Mark and the team about it. I mean, they're going to be pushing this through, but it's something that I think taking that to this board and then to the, moving it ahead with the hearing examiner, that might create a little bit of a problem.
Typically, again, Alan Suka, typically, if there's another decision pending on a case like this, like a conditional use approval, then the council will oftentimes either defer action on the category change until this use is approved, or what they might do is make it a conditional approval on approval of the conditional use. This is a lot easier when it was a special exception. So we'll need to work through that. As I said to Josh, we can submit our findings from the DRC to the hearing examiner if they need that to understand what's going on with the sewer. Happy to do that.
So for determining our path forward, you'll
Yeah, go through the team. I'll be chatting with the team though.
but yeah, I wasn't pointing at you as, okay,
Yeah, we'll talk internally too.
okay.
So the big question is, do we feel comfortable making that a condition of the conditional use?
That's what I thought we would proceed as. That we understood that would be the case. It would be a condition of the conditional use. So, okay.
Sounds like this is gonna be up to Lynn, though.
Yeah.
Again, we can't talk to Lynn. Can you technically talk to Lynn? And again, I don't mean to be, I'm just having to be my line of sight is with you. But
I think if we talk to Lynn, it has to be, it has to include everyone in it.
Yep,
as
that's
part of the record.
Yeah, if we talk to her, it would have to include everybody.
just obviously would be fine with us, but.
Yeah.
Or I think, hi, Emily Vias with legal. I think it may be okay to do an email to simply ask if she would accept a conditional use with a condition that there will have to be a subsequent
Right.
category change. And you wouldn't even have to identify the case, but you could still copy everybody on it. But I think we could still ask that question. I think that is the question, right?
Yeah, Lynn's been good about, when it's not project specific, about providing guidance, so. And again, we'll ask who's the best person to kind of make that approach, but you guys think about it and then we'll follow up, okay. Okay. But I think that's everything on the water and sewer. Okay.
Yeah, I think the other thing that we wanted to talk about was the streets. So we've got this internal loop road and we know we did undersized radii, and that was primarily because we just don't want people moving fast through here. We can tweak the northern one and make it 100-foot internal. We can also, I think, relatively easily make these public roads. We could dedicate these as public roads and provide easements on the two southern portions where it could have future connectivity east and west, and make that a stop condition for now, which I think would be even safer because of our crosswalks that we do have there. We know those are non-standard crosswalks. They're just, we're trying to provide access and some extra parking to the open space area to the south. So it's really a matter of preference. Do we want to submit a waiver and justification for private roads in these radii, or do we want to go ahead, dedicate them and make sure that they comply as much as possible to the standards? I think the grading on the roads is all standard. The tree panel sidewalk is all standard. So it's kind of just sort of a discussion where staff wants us to go with that, because we have space in this site.
Generally, Chris Van Alstyne here for the record. Generally to us, we don't see much difference between public and private roads at this point. Private roads should still be designed to public standards. So as long as you find a standard and it meets to our complete streets design guidelines, that should be fine. So the biggest issues are the dedication size, so how wide the roads are, what you can fit into it, the horizontal curvature, particularly these bends. That's been a sticking point for a long time. Towards the rear, doing what you're suggesting, that at least to me sounds like a good idea. At least laying that out in a way that could provide future connectivity, do the stop control. I'll let DOT, especially if you could provide a design for them to review, let DOT provide additional comment. Things like the parking, particularly that bottom parking, I think we have issue with. I know we also have design comments with the parking down there. If you're trying to do an open space, having parking there and probably conflicts with having any sense of a vista or connection to open space, but that's maybe not my ballpark. But yeah, just clarifying, the street cross sections, we would want to know that, making sure the dedication works, making sure that the horizontal curvature works. I know we had issues with those crosswalks. If they retained on bends, the placement is problematic. If we realign it as you're suggesting, that's maybe not an issue. But I think that's, and then I had those comments on providing easements for future connectivity. So that's several points through the site that accommodate connectivity should adjacent properties, and the kind of the trend that we're seeing is these properties developing sort of like this. So accommodate that cross connectivity, especially since Travilla Road, that's the major road through the area. We got transit on there, so we want to make sure that this is a walkable, transit-friendly community.
For the pedestrian actions, the ones in green, that's just an easement. That's easement.
So those would be easements,
right? For the vehicular, would be easement for future dedication, or
so that's probably a larger conversation. But it sounds like if you want to at the south to do that stop intersection, that sounds to me like you would need to do temporary turnarounds, so hammerheads on both sides. In which case that obviously that would be some construction, but then having easement all the way to the property line for areas that aren't constructed.
Yeah, so our thought is you'd come down to a stop condition, you'd have a hammerhead on each end. I have to take the stormwater and push it down. Grading gets tight in this area because we noted with Alan, we're basically taking a ridge, flattening it out a good bit so that we can make these sewer inverts work with our study. So it's all gravity fed. But I think we can find a way to get the stormwater out of what would become, I think, a dedicated public road with the temporary turnaround, and then turn that perpendicular parking to parallel parking, get our tree panel in, and then you just have that feeling of the street. We were able to do all of our forest conservation, all stream valley protection. So I do have some room to play. I just don't want to start pushing too far south into that area, because it's actually the nicest part of the site now, and we want to highlight that, take advantage of it.
Then as we get towards the preliminary plan, you know, obviously that open space, I know people have comments on the open space, but obviously provided some trails, some sort of activity down there would be beneficial.
Yeah, we've got a little loop trail, and then the hardest to an overlook with a shade structure that looks over a lawn. And then the idea is that we'd have forest planting on two sides of the stream buffer, and then an open area that, you know, might be a once a year mow kind of situation. But keep it passive, quiet, and not try to get, once we start trying to get trails further down to the south, one, we've got the buffer, which would try not to, you know, maybe a natural surface trail, but it wouldn't be ADA compliant. We were trying to keep everything here ADA compliant to each of the primary spaces.
Yeah, what I would suggest would be at this point, natural surface. So anything that's not, you know, deep in that forest area, that would be natural surface.
Okay.
And just to verify, I think the answer is no, but the adjacent properties, none of that is Parks property. It appears to be the quarry properties at this point.
There's actually a private parcel that still has contractors and things are still there. That's all staying. Yeah, exactly, on the south there. There's no direct abutting Parks parcel.
Just back to
Yeah, thanks. And Josh, I'm going to jump in just from Mark's email last week. We had a lot of people out. This is a quite different layout than I think we saw a few months ago when we were discussing this in the summer. We will have some design comments, and apologies that they were not ready for DRC, but we're trying to aim to get those to you by the end of the week here, so you can consider those. But we wanted to get a better understanding of this, and just, you know, we have some questions here, but the intent you know, is to follow up here more concretely in writing with some more design direction.
Okay. And a number of you were not involved in the early presentation of this, but we've been talking about this for several months now. We came in originally with a multifamily senior living affordable building, and that just got completely nixed and stuck with the townhouse project here to keep it in a much lower density and a smaller footprint, et cetera. So we think through initial feedback, we got a long way there. We'll certainly look at the next round of comments.
Back to the vehicular connections. I don't know that we can't accommodate it, but do you actually need them? I mean, do you expect ever to have vehicular connections to either side?
Well, that's what we're trying to build out. I mean, if we were to see similar sort of development in the future, that's kind of the natural way things are going, especially with the grade. The challenge here is, as you're changing the topography, you want to make sure that topography could work also with future subdivision on both sides as well. So that's, honestly, I think that's probably going to be the biggest issue, is just making sure that topography, we're not building something that juts off a cliff. So we want to be realistic, making sure that those connections can be feasible. In terms of the construction, that's just kind of what we do. If it's going to be a temporary turnaround, then we do need it to be temporary. And if we want to get the stop condition, it has to look like an actual intersection and operate like an actual intersection.
Well, and there might be some design comments that I think overlap with what Chris is saying. So just give us a few days. We'll give you comprehensive comments, and then we can forward.
Right.
My sense is that there's going to be some grading questions too. So
I think that was the key one, since we'll wait and see what the design comments and other things come in are.
Thank you.
Josh, let me just ask one quick question again. Alan Sukup with DEP. Were you expecting the water and sewer mains on the site to be private? Okay. If you switch to public roads, you may want to discuss that with WSSC.
Yeah.
That, a private easement in a public road may not work for them.
No, the easement would go away and they would be in a publicly dedicated.
Okay.
There would be a section up on the north where the road doesn't connect. That would be in an easement, but I think that's relatively straightforward.
Okay.
I should also mention, in our typical design comments, which I neglected this, we're not fans of front-loaded units. It looks like all of these will be, understands that they're all going to be front-loaded.
That comment's coming, then that's a non-starter for us.
From a developer perspective, we're not fans of rear loaded. And that's from our homeowners that want backyards. So I know that's always a conflict, that everyone wants a unit to look like it's Old Town Alexandria, but it's really people want to pull in their house and have a nice place to barbecue. And the rear loaded backyards, just for whatever it's worth, kill that living social atmosphere. So it's really a.
What are the lot depths you're working with? The lot depths, what are the lot depths you're working with?
These are all standard. So these are 22-foot wide units.
I know, but the lot depth of the lot.
70 feet?
70 feet, but they're 2-car garage, it kills the backyard. And we couldn't do it here anyway, so it's.
I mean, the big thing is these are elevator units, they're accessible, they're senior, and the impervious for this kind of location to add alleys with streets in front. Yeah, significant impact.
I had something regarding that. You talked about making them public. The depth of the driveways don't meet our standard that we had agreed to of 18 to 20 feet.
They're all 20 feet.
Oh, they are 20 feet from the sidewalk, back of sidewalk to the front of the building.
Yep, because they're 37 feet from the curb.
Okay.
So we've got a tree panel and the sidewalk and then the full depth.
So the tree panel, what do we require? 600 cubic yards for a tree to be placed? Is
Yeah,
that it?
we shoot for 600 to 1,000.
Okay. And do you have that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on what Rebecca mentioned, yeah, I'm sorry, this is Tim over at DPS. Because this is mostly townhouses, we are not pushing really hard for the roads to be public.
Yeah.
As Rebecca said, our agreement with Park and Planning is 20 feet from the right-of-way line to the structure surface, which is the garage in this case. And also, because we're dealing with townhouse complex, the distance between the driveways are what driving the space for the street trees. And it would be very difficult to provide 600 cubic feet between the driveways. So that's something that it would need to be considered at the time of detailed design.
Yeah, Sam, thank you for bringing that up. I mean, if these are truly all front-loaded townhouses, then there are no street trees. I mean, that meet that category of that amount of soil depth. So I think our comments about the front-loaded units is not just, we like Old Town Alexandria. They have an implication on the streetscapes. They have an implication on pedestrian safety. So let us look at it and we'll give you some thoughtful suggestions and then we can kind of go from there. But it's not an aesthetic preference in name only that is driving our sort of discussion here, but please give us some time and we'll give you some comments.
The only other thing I would say is around those corners, my suggestion is to widen out. So it should be a minimum of 10 and a half foot travel lanes. And then around the corner, you might want vehicles a little more space.
Yeah, right now they're all 11-foot travel lanes.
There are 11, okay. Yeah, and again, I would still widen it out. I think there's something in Ashto. It wouldn't be having to be much, but something a little bit wider might have people so that they're not, when they drive in the middle of the roadway around the corner, they can move out of the way.
Okay, is there anything else?
Are there any dates we can start talking about, or too much? Are we till the things we need to work?
As far as like final submittal and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
I emailed, it was in that email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was an email I sent on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, again, we'll get you our comments the end of the week here. I mean, we do. I mean, I hear what you're saying with your layout. I think we have an idea as well, but we just need to finalize our thoughts here, communicate that.
And Josh, you're saying that coverage is the main issue we're bumping up against? 'Cause
Coverage and impervious, we're trying to meet our complete stormwater with ESDs and, yeah, adding alleys is just a lot of impervious for this area.
Yeah, I could throw in something on the stormwater. I know I'm getting a little ahead of the conditional use argument here. We're getting more towards the preliminary plan, but we haven't seen any geotechnical information yet to see how viable these stormwater elements are going to be. You're right across the street from the quarry. Lots of stone out there, and we're going to need to see that and make sure that that we have good stormwater management design. This is new development; it's not redevelopment, and we're looking for full stormwater management out here. And the conveyance studies into the storm drain system and all that kind of stuff haven't been checked either. So there's some work to do there to see how viable it is from a stormwater management standpoint. I know that we've responded back to the engineer in writing as part of our first review comments. Just throw that out.
Thanks, Mark. Okay.
Thank you all. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Everybody, I am Christina Sorrento, and I am the Chief of the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division, and this is the DRC meeting for 5500 Wisconsin Avenue. Your lead reviewer is Saquon Gatling, and I'm just going to ask Saquon to just highlight major issues and really turn it over to the applicant for you to lead the meeting. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Go ahead, Saquon.
Thanks. So good morning and Happy New Year to everyone. I am the lead reviewer for the sketch plan amendment and site plan here. Previously, Grace was the lead for the original sketch plan, and I'll be working closely with her to ensure consistency where necessary and just logical flow as we update and have this new application in. Just to give a highlight of the key comments here, there was a comment from planning staff just to have clarification regarding the density transfer. The full comment was in the text that was provided to you, but just we want to make sure there's sufficient density for the sending site. We'll get into that a little bit later. There were also clarifications on the development table as well as the public benefits sought. So just coordinate with us and we'll get that straightened out so we can ensure the points are applied correctly. And there was also a request for a public open space plan, which we don't think was provided. Environmentally, we'll need a noise analysis submitted with this project as it's near the arterial roadway, which will impact the noise levels in the residential units. And there were also a number of comments related to the urban design aspects of the project. We requested renderings for various locations and just coordination on previous comments, which we want to address to make sure the design is proceeding as we expected. And there's also a stormwater management plan concept approval needed for the project. And I think that takes care of the highlights, so I'll pass it over to the applicant team.
Thank you. And thank you all for your very thorough comments. We appreciate it. We know there was kind of a condensed time frame with the holidays, so hope everyone had happy holidays too. So what we thought we would do is go through some of the key points that we had some questions we wanted some clarity on, and then we wanted to probably have more directed conversations with folks, probably more on the design side of things. But the first thing was on the public benefit points, public open space exhibit. That actually was submitted as part of the, and it's in the supporting documents folder. Would you like us to move that to the main plan set? Would that be helpful?
Yes, please.
We'll probably have to revise it anyway. Okay. Great. So in terms of kind of overall design, well, again, you know, we appreciate kind of everyone's comments back at the sketch plan phase. We're excited about bringing this forward in site plan, bringing forward more details in terms of design and layout and public space. One of the components that was really important was obviously the WUNRF and the shared street and the connectivity. We know that staff does not love wayfinding points, but we know it's also, you know, still part of the allowances right now. And we do think that it's unique for this specific site, especially in Friendship Heights. It's providing a new path for folks coming both from Wisconsin to the village and from the village to Wisconsin Avenue. And we have thought further about various signage that we had not really elaborated on in the application that we did want to talk to you all about. We're not asking for the full 10 points, but we are asking for 5 of the 10, so just half. And we do think that it's justified in this instance just because of kind of the unique situation of, you know, the importance of connectivity and ensuring folks know of that connection and the ability to find their way in both directions. So we can talk further with you all about that and perhaps talk further about what our thoughts are in terms of signage, but we wanted to at least raise that. In terms of exceptional design points, we've had conversations, and as you probably know from the village too, we're not able to provide direct access to the Hills Plaza in terms of a lobby area. We did see your comment in terms of operative windows, and that is something that the design team is looking at. We think that that is something that we can incorporate and is a really great idea in terms of opening the space and bringing forth the kind of public realm into the private realm and connecting it together. So we do want to talk further with you all in terms of the overall points. We do appreciate you acknowledging that in Bethesda, we would get 20 points. We know 10 is kind of what the limit is in Friendship Heights. But we do believe that there's a lot of innovative design that's being utilized here that's different than what's been done previously in Friendship Heights. So we do want to further explore what those total number of points should be in this instance. So I'm going to move on to design. Should I pause for a moment? You guys want to talk at all about either one, or do you want to do this as a follow-up conversation where we can, talk through more on design? It may be more productive in that setting.
Do you have thoughts on the wayfinding?
Can I ask about the wayfinding, Stacy? Because I know
Sure.
that's been one of the things that we've said, I think, in the past, that if it's something that, if the wayfinding only really satisfies, directions to your project and internally, then why would we do it? But if it's something more, I want to say regional, but more CBD wide, then I think we could consider that. And I realize you're only asking for 5 points, but it's not been one that we've been as receptive to, just because it didn't serve the needs, I think, for the district. So maybe elaborate on that a little bit about what you see the wayfinding to accomplish.
And this may be, again, kind of a start of a conversation, kind of interesting your thoughts in terms of kind of the more regional focus of it. But our thought is that this is kind of a unique situation in the sense of there's really not any specific connectivity like this that's been done within the village. Obviously it's with the roads that the connectivity has happened, but not on a private property. So in this instance, we think it is kind of on a ability to ensure that folks understand the opportunity to both connect to the village, but also from the village to Wisconsin Avenue. And, there can be some innovative design in terms of the signage that can be done to do so. We can certainly look at it more broadly to see if there's an ability to, provide some additional signage elsewhere to attract folks, not specifically at that cross section with the Wooner. And that's certainly something we can explore further. But again, we're not asking for the full 10 points. We're just asking for 5 of the points.
Stacy, have you also considered just physical wayfinding, or have you looked at things like digital things that might be incorporated into elements of the project that can have a broader reach than, Wisconsin Avenue this way and, the park this way, that really do get to that larger benefit?
Yeah, I think the last time this had come up just recently in Bethesda, we said that, we would be supportive if it was something that was more holistically tied to like downtown Bethesda, like BUP's design. And BUP had said that they moved away from static wayfinding because it's not used as well as, what you just said with the electronic ones that are coming online. So I think it might be a similar answer here, that if you're doing it, it needs to be tied into a larger system, and the design needs to do that. And what is the village doing? Right. So.
It's a fair point, gang, and we'll think about that a little further. We do think that this opportunity, it's really kind of the only opportunity we know of to create a new street within the village of Friendship Heights. And it does have some larger kind of tie-ins in that it basically connects from Wisconsin to the village center, but it also falls in line with North Park Avenue on the other side, on the west side of the center, such that it kind of creates a new axis and a new method of not just getting through to the village center, but then beyond to the street where most of the current residents in that village live. So we think it is a useful kind of design axis as well, but we'll take your thoughts to heart on that and think about what the ask should be as far as points for it.
I think, Jad, thanks for the follow-up. I think not only the points, but kind of the content and what what the wayfinding is really intended to accomplish, other than, getting you through the block. And I think to Grace and Atul's point, what holistically are we trying to accomplish with that? And those are discussions we've had, I think, in Silver Spring and Wheaton and Bethesda about what's appropriate for the wayfinding. And in some cases, it's very important to have that because we want to direct people to the metro, to, key points within that district. And if that does something here to that effect, then, I think we'd be supportive. But that's probably a follow-up discussion about, how, what the importance of the wayfinding is to this project and to kind of this area itself.
And there may be some opportunities to consider how wayfinding can be used to enhance some of the more utilitarian portions of the building. We do have service doors and garage entries and things like that off the WUNERF, and there may be some ways to combine some artistic elements and wayfinding elements together to make those aspects of the building, look and feel a little better at eye level.
Yeah, this is Trini. Good morning, everyone. I mean, one thing that we could also do is, I think the retail is also one of the elements that has struggled quite a bit in the village. And maybe, as you know, the collective has a series of passageways. If we can kind of come up with a way of sort of unifying this and giving retail a little bit more life as being all part of a more intricate fabric of things and ways and ways of getting to different places.
All right. That's what I found out.
If someone's speaking, we can't hear. If you're.
No, it was just somebody's mute.
Okay, got it. Okay.
This is Paul. I was just going to suggest, I think it's already been kind of said, but you see these great WUNERFs, alleys, sort of spaces, across the country that are very, very like artistically embellished. You already, I think, are proposing the canary lights above. I think you're suggesting some design elements, certainly in the first floor elevation of this new building. But I think if it could be more than that, some type of art. I mean, you already are having pretty wide expanses of garage doors that we would hope could be artistically embellished one way or another. And if it could be carried along that whole first floor, I think it would be something that could be very, very cool. It could be something that leads to greater directional guidance. So your wayfinding, public art, and just making this space something really, really special within the neighborhood. I think, all together, once you do that, I think we can probably find points, to help you out on that regard. But I think making it something really special, which I think is what your intent is anyway, would be really wonderful.
Thank you.
I think you're suggesting that potentially even this idea of sort of the super graphics, potentially, I don't know, that also helps guide, service, pedestrians, entrances, as well as where retail is located. And make it in a way that it is an experience, not just a sign, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Well, the next point I think you were touching on, Paul, in terms of the loading garage doors, and that's something that we'll come back with you all to speak to you about, and we'll include in our next submittal. But we have some thoughts in terms of providing some frosting, panels on both loading and garage. The one thing that we're balancing is obviously we want to make sure that the garage doors have the high speed function. But Donahoe Jad has done something similar in other places where we've been able to combine the two. So we'll certainly submit that. The next point we wanted to talk to you all about is there was a comment with regards to the two-story lobby expression. And we just wanted to share kind kind of a before and after, just to make sure we understand the comment. And maybe, Pat, if you want to share your screen for a moment, and then Andy can talk a little bit about that. Pat, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up right now. Teams is being a little slow.
We had a lot of technical difficulties earlier today, so it's just a new year, you know.
Getting a slow start to the new year.
Yeah.
It looks like it's trying to share, Pat. It's just taking a little time to load.
Yeah. Let me know when you can see something.
You know what? It actually went off again. So maybe try again.
How about now?
Yes. Okay. Andy, do you want to talk through kind of where we were?
Yeah, sure. I mean, hey everyone, this is Andy Czechowski from SK&I. Just going back, this was the sketch plan that we submitted a little over a year ago. So October 21. So this was when we were still at sort of that sketch plan, just massing. And I guess the big thing is that we had originally had the shoulders of the building were longer. They extended over the Woonerf, and we had this arcade. And I think one of the sketch plan original comments was we had a very high retail space on Wisconsin, but then it does go uphill. The Woonerf goes uphill, and it got a little bit shorter on the Hills Plaza side. So you all had asked for a 2-story arcade. So we did that, but all along the lobby was 1 story, because we still had pretty generous heights in there, like it was like 16 feet, but we wanted more than 16 feet. I think we wanted 18 or 20. So this was going to get you like 26 feet there. So we did that sort of at the sketch plan and acknowledged that design opportunity. But having said all that, then sort of in this submission, we've essentially removed that overhang. We've removed the arcades. So the shoulders of the building are shorter. They don't extend over the arcade. There's no arcade. They don't extend into the Woonerf. So the Woonerf is entirely open to the sky, except for the little piece of the hotel, which we need to keep. So essentially, and then the floor to floors essentially didn't really change. So that lobby is still like 16-foot floor to floor. And after all said and done, we'll probably have like 13 some feet clear, but we'll have 14-foot, probably if not more, storefronts along that frontage. So I just wanted to make sure that we're all talking. We were never intending to have a 2-story like a 26-foot lobby space. So it's always going to be 16 feet floor to floor there. I just wanted to clarify that.
So wanted to make sure we were kind of on the same page that now it is fully open to the sky. So it provides much more I think the point that we had heard last time is that it just felt a little constrained with that overhang along the Woonerf. So as part of the site plan redesign, that was something that we had worked on, the design team had worked on in terms of kind of opening that space further. So it was kind of had that grander feel to it.
Yeah, and another thing that we've done is, as you've seen in the renderings of the package, we've set back all the storefront storefront wall along the perimeter of the ground floor, and we've exposed columns on the outside. So it's going to have more of a modern feel to it, and then the storefronts are set back within that, behind the column expression. So the storefront will be plenty tall around the perimeter of the building.
I think one of my comments in terms of the renderings, and thank you for providing so many, but they were hard to see the level of detail. I think because they were all perspective views. And so one of my comments was in the next round, if you could provide some on the ground level views of those particular key moments, like in the Woonerf, showing the lobby entrance and perhaps like along it and even off Wisconsin Avenue. That would be, I think, much more helpful in demonstrating what you guys are trying to describe to us right now.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll do that.
I think in particular, eye level view looking towards that corner where the Woonerf and the street meet, just so we can understand. I mean, there's not going to be any doors onto the street, but how the lobby and the architecture of the lobby at least wraps the corner in the absence of that door is something, Andy, that we were trying to get an understanding of.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I think yeah, we can add a few more pages, more renderings.
Okay. On streetscape, there were some comments from DOT. The Hills Plaza, South Park, those are all village streets. So we are certainly looking at DOT comments, but also acknowledging that they are village streets and controlled by the village. There was one comment about the sidewalks being at 10 feet in width, and Pat LeVay had looked at that, and it's something that we think we can accommodate. They're currently about 8 to 9 feet, and we can, looks like we can adjust the tree pits, but we'll certainly need to coordinate that with the village as well.
Yeah, they're actually a little bit over 9 feet wide. It'd just be a few inches of adjustment. We made the tree pits a little more generous. We can narrow that back down. And also that's all measuring to the property line. As Andy mentioned, there's an additional setback of the lower level. It's on private property, but sort of the paved area will expand beyond that a few feet. So, but we'll shoot for the 10 feet clear width.
Just a note on that to remind, this is great news. Happy to hear it. This is Katie Mencarini. When you do that, make sure that you not only adjust the drawings, but also the cross sections, because that's helpful for us with our staff report. So just a note. Thanks.
And then Katie, as long as we're on you and the camera's on you, how are you? Happy New Year.
Good, thanks. How are you? Happy to see you.
Me too. There was a comment you had with regards to parking numbers, and we are seeking approval of a range, which we've done in other cases as well, just from a perspective of at time of construction is when we'll have a final sense in terms of the total. But we did want to just point out that we were conservative in terms of how we calculated and looked at public benefit points. So, for example, we use the maximum parking number in calculating the minimum parking public benefit. Okay. So we just wanted to point that out to you and, ask that we continue to be allowed to use that range as long as we are conservative in how we're utilizing those numbers.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest concern is just making sure that if you're seeking public benefit points for parking, that, like you said, you're using the upper end of that range. Forgive me, it's been a while since I wrote these comments because I wrote them right before I went on vacation 2 weeks ago. I think that was it. I think there may be some other minor comments that I can work out with Pat LeVay about parking calculations that we've done with other projects recently. So I think we can figure that out, but I appreciate the clarification.
Yep, and we did, in terms of the public benefit points, there's, I think, minimum parking, we use the maximum number of spaces, but then for structured parking, we actually use the lower end number because the thinking is that if the parking numbers ended up going lower,
right,
and those would be taken out of the garage, and therefore there would be a smaller percentage of below grade ones. So again, we were conservative in the numbers.
Okay, I appreciate that.
The final thing is, Saquon had mentioned in the beginning question with regards to the density transfer, and I just wanted to confirm that we will update our numbers in our resubmittal, but the SDAT basically has the property having about 1,416 square feet. We've discussed with the village that we're going to retain 2,500 square feet of density on the property. And we certainly can split the commercial and the residential down, the line if that's helpful. So we'll put something together and resubmit and share with you all and share with the village as well.
Is the 2,500 square feet enough for standard method? Is that what you're?
It actually is enough, to basically accommodate what's currently there and give them some flexibility. If there should be any, for them, it was just really kind of ADA accessibility, if there's anything they needed to add. So we basically agreed to provide a little extra density to remain on the site. But as you see, we actually are leaving over 4,300 square feet on the site in terms of the overall transfer. So we're leaving more than what's needed or what we agreed to. And
Stacey, if you could update that on both the plans as well as the SOJ to just walk us through that verbally, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. And I think with that, that really were the key points we wanted to discuss with you. Certainly from a design perspective, we could follow up with park and planning, design folks on some of the, the wayfinding, discussion about kind of the ground plane, get any clarity we need on terms of the renderings. But I think you guys provided some good clarity on that today.
Do you need another meeting for that, Stacey?
It may be good to have another meeting, yeah.
Okay, anything else other than design?
No. Pat, was there anything else? I think we had everything else in terms of, I think stormwater management you actually already had. Yeah, we're good.
There, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it is just on the design that we've talked about.
Yeah, a few of the things on parking calcs and maybe some of these public benefit point calcs, we can work together with the individual reviewers offline. I don't think we need a meeting for it.
Okay.
Is there any way you guys can indicate how far down there are doors from the north of this building or from the top side? It looks like those doors are way down. I mean, I see why you're going to need wayfinding. No one's going to know where the entrance to this building is. We'd like to know how far down those doors are. I think on South Park, it looks like about 100 feet before you hit a door or more. And on the Wooners, it looks like it's probably over 30 feet down before you hit a door. So obviously, our concerns about that, but I would like to know just what the dimensions are.
So Paul, you're asking about kind of just dimensioning out from the plan itself in terms of how far it is, just including those numbers? Okay.
How far is the entry door away from whatever Park Plaza, whatever? I think that's the name of the street. Yep.
Yeah, we can provide that. Does anyone else from our team have any other questions or comments?
Just in terms of schedule, Saquon, I believe the submission date would be the 18th, Wednesday the 18th. Is that correct?
Yes, that will be your first resubmittal date, January 18th. And I can go ahead and run down the rest of the dates. I'll reconfirm this via email as well as settle the topics for our meeting that we'll have in the coming days to tie up some of these loose ends. But the first resubmittal is January 18th, as I just said. The final will be February 22nd, with agency letters due on March the 14th for a planning board date of April 27th.
Okay.
So April 27th is the planning board date. Okay. Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks.
I am the chief of the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division, and this is the DRC meeting for Edgemore. The lead reviewer is Saquon Gatling again. And I'll ask Saquon just to highlight any major issues we have, and then really this is the applicant's meeting to answer any or ask any questions that you have based upon the comments you received. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Saquon?
So good morning. I'll just give a recap of staff's comments. A lot of them fall under the environmental umbrella, given just the proximity of lots of trees and the easement on site. One thing we requested was a landscape plan to get a better idea of, with the tree removals, especially in the frontage area, of what's going on there, and just have a better idea of how that will be restored in terms of providing landscape plantings along the frontage. It will be in line with the master plan, which seeks to protect and conserve the sensitive environmental features of the site. I also asked for tightening up or expanded the justification of your LOD and placement of features on site, such as stormwater facilities, your addition there, and some utility lines. We need those to be tightened up or better explained, just because of the significant impacts we have there. There was also a comment on spacing between the easement, just to provide adequate spacing so that one, there's better protection for that forest environment, and two, there's more leeway for activity in that site. We want to make sure that there's no violations on that easement. So having expanded space there, sort of a buffer area that prevents the building from being in that area, would just give more protection to these features. And we can discuss these as we go forward. There's sort of a cascading effect as you shift things around the site, so that'll be a collaboration. There were also transportation comments related to the frontage and driveway curb cuts. As proposed, staff doesn't support the 3 curb cuts there, so we'll have a discussion on how to better address that. And there'll be future transportation comments coming, just because of the timeline of the review happening during the holidays. We weren't able to get a full set of transportation comments to you, so just bear with us and we'll get you those within the week. There were also fire and rescue comments regarding main door and hydrant, and also needing a stormwater approval, but I'll pass it back to the applicant now for any questions or just to lead the discussion there.
Yep, Jared Carhart with Cass Engineering. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Oliver Carr. So Saquon, I just wanted to touch base on a couple of the comments you had. The first one being the landscaping plan. I thought that was more of like a site plan commercial requirement during subdivision. I've never been asked to provide a landscaping plan for an administrative residential subdivision before.
Well, so we're asking for a landscape plan in this instance, partially because in this master plan, we want to make sure there is preservation of the wooded nature of the sites in the master plan area. And we noticed, when you look at the existing condition, especially along the frontage, there are lots of trees that currently provide a buffer between the driveway and the frontage of the house, as well as the sidewalk. And with the sudden loss of those landscape plantings, it'd be great to see what's happening in that area. Right now, it looks like it's going to be clear cut and not much else. So to better support this application in the eyes of the residents, as well as meeting master plan recommendations and upholding the intent of the master plan there, we just wanted to have better clarification regarding the treatment of the landscape in terms of removals and what's going to be put back in its place there.
So
I wanted to underline, this is Elsa Heisel-McCoy. Happy New Year, everybody. That we got a follow-up email. I know there have been a lot of conversations with the neighbors, but we got a follow-up email today that really sort of hones in on the specificity of this. So I think the more detail that we can provide to the neighbors and the board, I think the smoother this will go.
And so you guys are talking about a sealed drawing by a landscape architect, essentially?
For the landscape plan you're asking?
Yeah.
It can be sealed by a landscape architect, but we just want a better idea. So even if the drawing is not necessarily sealed in this resubmittal, just to give us a better idea of your design intent going forward, that'd be great. And that we include it as part of the certified set. So once we have a better idea, we can give you comments on that landscape sheet and have it incorporated as a part of the approval.
I mean, we have a number of mitigation trees for proposed removal of specimen trees. Could we just focus placing those mitigation trees towards the front of the site where the previous landscaping or where the existing landscaping is?
That would be one method of going about it, and making sure those are not in the right way or within any easements would be important. I do know that looks like there's an easement along the front. We can confirm that, but also in addition to just mitigation plantings, you could have understory plantings and shrubs and other minor trees that could be shown, not necessarily on an FCP, but on a landscape sheet where you get a bit more detail about the array of plantings that could happen on the site.
Okay. And this is okay. All right, I'll talk more with you about that offline here. Another comment was made in regards to obtaining an arborist and getting a tree protection report done. All the proposed trees to be saved, we're disturbing less than 30% of the critical root zone. I thought if we disturb less than 30%, we don't need additional tree protection, proposed tree protection measures or an arborist involved.
That is a general rule of thumb, and I would note that there is a lot going on the site. One, you noted that there is a large tree within 75% or more of a champion tree, and also there's an area of forest there. So along with your justification for impacts to specimen trees for the variance request and the tightening or adjustment of LOD and features on site, which was mentioned previously, we think that having an arborist address these issues with you would help your justification and also just provide protection where there may not be currently any, or just enhancement protection so that we can be sure that the health of the saved trees will be preserved going forward. Just because of the tight nature of the site and everything that's going into it, we feel that this is an important step to ensure that we're taking the protections seriously and can provide the protections we need for the features on site.
Okay, can you, I'll follow up again with you on this, but are there specific trees you're concerned about? If that might help us hone in on what additional protections we could look into, if you could specify which trees are of primary concern.
Sure. So in addition to the forest and respecting the disturbance which may occur on that easement edge, I do know that currently the proposed addition goes directly to the tree which was cited as within 75% or greater of the county champion. That one stands out distinctly, but also near the front along the driveway areas and along some of the stormwater facilities. It seems that the placement of these features go right up to these trees, which may be preserved given some flexibility about where these features are placed on the site and how the overall design of the site is proposed. So those are the things that stand out. And as you get into further detail, I'm sure an arborist would have an eye of saying, perhaps we can shift this or provide protection while still having a proposed feature here. So just having an overall look on the plan would give us a better idea of how to sharpen up and make sure we're doing what we can to protect.
Okay. That's all I had for the environmental aspect. Actually, that's not correct. So we just got that letter. We just got information from the neighbor speaking to providing a buffer from the easement, and same staff comments reflecting that as well. They would like to see some sort of setback from the easement. Although we're not showing a BRL line, we are proposing the house be 8.2 feet away from the easement line itself, and we would be happy to implement an 8-foot offset building restriction line from the easement. So that was our intention, but we do show the BRL within the easement. We're not intending to build within the easement. We are intending to provide a buffer there. So I would hope that we can attempt to respond to the neighbor who's requesting a planning board hearing and sort of clarify our intentions here. We also are, there was some language speaking to some of the forest area being removed within the easement. I don't believe that to be true. There is a little sliver of land within the easement that is not forest, but we are willing to plant trees and shrubs within that area so that it can be classified as forest moving forward. So I guess my question to staff is if we can sort of clarify these things with the sole neighbor who's opposing and requesting planning board hearing, can we avoid planning board and move forward through the administrative process?
You wrote a letter that says.
Right, you would need a letter from that neighbor saying that they are no longer requesting a hearing.
Okay, and there's no consideration from staff that, to you guys, if it looks like we're satisfying their concerns, they can still request a hearing even if, just cause?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And I do think, I know you guys are showing 8.2 or whatever. I think our recommendation is 15 feet off the easement.
15 feet? Okay. We've done 10 feet as recently as last year. I can follow up with Saquon on that and see if that's something that would be acceptable than 8 feet.
But 15 feet does seem to be what staff's recommendation is. Once we get a better idea about what we'll do in terms of protection overall on the site, we can certainly discuss that further, but 8 feet certainly isn't something that we support at the moment.
Okay, 15 feet. Okay. Another comment, I think that's it for my environmental questions. My next questions are centered around the transportation comments. The first one being the permit parking removal. We're happy to endeavor on that request to pursue removing of the permit parking with neighbors. But I guess the question is if there's pushback from neighbors to that permit parking removal, but we still have a signed sealed site distance survey. Is that something that can truly hold up subdivision approval?
Who's comment?
It's from DOT. I was out when this was sent around, so I don't know. Is anyone from DOT on the line? I think.
Yes, Rebecca is. And Billy will. And Brenda.
I think Deepak is the one who reviewed it, but.
Yeah,
so
Deepak.
his comment was the site distance cannot be approved until permit parking along the site frontage is removed, and we'd have to work with neighbors on getting that permit parking removed.
We'll have to talk internally.
Okay.
We'll talk internally and then we'll get back to you. Just send an email, follow-up email, and then we'll make sure we discuss it.
Okay.
Okay.
Another DOT comment was in regards to the existing inlet at the corner of Fairfax and Moreland being inadequate. Under existing conditions, it's inadequate. So under proposed conditions, it's inadequate. So the comment was to provide an upstream inlet. So there's a couple concerns there. One being that there's a number of mature right-of-way trees that would get removed by providing an upstream inlet, just due to the storm drain connection that would come along with it. So I guess my request to DOT is that can we sort of reanalyze our site runoff under proposed conditions, utilizing the fact that we're providing stormwater management. Under
No, we can't take into account stormwater management. That I know. Deepak and I talked about it briefly. I think this was the one where there was an inlet that had like 40% it was getting. It was like only taking in 40% of water. So I think that was the issue that we had. So we'll have to Deepak again. He's much better at that. He's just out of the office today. So
Okay.
we'll discuss and get back with you. I think when we can set up a meeting with, is that correct, Christina? We can set a meeting up?
Yes.
Okay. So just have, I guess the planner schedule a meeting and we can discuss those.
Okay. And then the last DOT comment was in regards to water and sewer coming in at an angle, and that is not permitted typically. Is that coming from WSSC, or is that was just a new comment? I've never seen that comment before. And I didn't get any WSSC comments, so I was curious as to where that came from.
I think we want them. Go ahead, Sam. I'll let you talk.
Yes, hi, this is Sam over at DPS. So yeah, as you know, Jared, we normally do not permit any utilities to cross the right of way at an acute angle. And that is normally something that is caused by WSSC utilities that will be crossed at an acute angle. So if you can provide some more some modifications to the plan to make it a perpendicular crossing, that would be great.
When crossing the road or the entire right of way?
A pavement.
Okay, the pavement. Okay. Okay. Is anybody from WSSC here today?
Yes, Karim is here.
Yes, good afternoon.
Awesome. So I had one question. I didn't get any review comments from WSSC. But I really wanted to get feedback from WSSC on the existing size of the water line in Fairfax Road.
Okay, I have the comment from our PM, our project manager here. I can send it to you through email. I don't know why he didn't upload the comments in the county project docs, but I have it in my own record, so I can send it to you an email.
Okay, that would be great. I think that's it as far as my questions. I'll follow up with Rebecca. I'll follow up with you to discuss the DOT comments in more detail. And Saquon, I'll follow up with you to go over some more of the environmental comments.
Okay, so it looks like we're having a follow-up meeting with DOT and the Down County team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm Christina Sorrento. I am the Chief of the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division, and this is the DRC meeting for 1307 Wheaton Lane. The lead reviewer is Amy Lindsay. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed. I'm going to turn over to Amy, and she's just going to highlight any major issues, and then really this meeting is for you to ask any questions that you might have based upon the comments you have already received. So Amy, go ahead.
Great. So speaking from just the planning perspective, this plan meets all of the requirements. You're showing the dedication for the Wheaton Lane right-of-way. Of course, we would be looking for, and I understand that the plan's not showing this, but we would be looking for pedestrian improvements, so a sidewalk on that side of Wheaton Lane that we understand that right now it's not going anywhere, but this is the way we get the sidewalks is through incremental development. We do understand that that Fire and Rescue had some comments, but we believe that those can be addressed within the context of this plan with providing a fire turnaround between two of the lots. It could even be incorporated into the driveway design with, say, two driveways being shared and a side entry to the garages from that, and to be able to use that as part of your fire turnaround. We've seen that done successfully on other plans, but that we felt like this addresses all of the zoning requirements in general.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Yes. My first question is, I read in one of the paragraphs, there is a Montgomery County 2050 project, and it says that this property could be a qualifier, and I wanted to know a little bit more about that project as far as getting multiple units, duplexes, more than 4 buildable lots.
So that's referring to the Thrive 2050 plan that was recently adopted by the county council. However, within the context of this zone and the requirements for a standard method of development project, unfortunately, that is not an easy thing to accomplish, to put other unit types here because of that.
Okay, no worries. That was just a general question. Question number 2, the number of lots proposed range from 4 to 6. And I understand the difference between a minor subdivision and a major subdivision. Which is more likely to be permissible, in your opinion, and I'm not holding anyone to it, to be able to do 4 buildable lots, or is there a possibility of 6?
I think 4 buildable lots is really what you're looking at. And unfortunately, none of them qualify as a minor subdivision because of the nature of this subdivision. Minor subdivisions are fairly restricted between what qualifies as a minor sub. So all of these would be major subdivisions, but in this zone, what you are showing with these 4 units, and then by the time you accommodate the fire turnaround, and in reading through the entire zoning ordinance for this zone, I believe that what you're showing us is a plan that will work.
Matt Makowski, you have your hand up.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt Mikowski. I'm with Montgomery County Department of Permitting Services representing the zoning section. I know that I'm in for Melissa Gutos today. I'm not sure where zoning may have started or left out on comments, but I'd like to just make a quick 2 or 3 points in reference to the proposed site plan that's on the share screen. I'm sure this will come further down the road, but setbacks would like to be seen for all 4 sides, front, sides, rears, dimensioned, how far the proposed single family dwelling is to those prospective property lines. I saw this is research. This is an R60 zone, which require a minimum 25-foot front setback. However, there may be an established building line study that may come into play. That's number 2. And then 3, just of course, common business practice to just label any type of easements. A lot of times, even the setbacks will be listed as what they're required on the site plan, proposed site plan itself in the top left. It's kind of hard for me to read exactly what's there on the shared screen, but maybe that's it as well. Of course, building height information proposed at the appropriate time. That's all. Otherwise, looks great for zoning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next question. My next question is, since there are 4 individual dwellings, is there the possibility of subdividing them as they currently exist and making them 4 independent lots without going through the subdivision process?
No, unfortunately, there is not. What you have is a parcel that this would not be allowed to be built at this point in time. I'll just leave it there.
All right.
You could.
And then my next, and my last.
Subdivision regardless.
Okay. And my next question is, I have an architect and I've enlisted for the seller an engineer to draw out the proper maps. So I guess at this point, we just need to take your suggestions with the sidewalks, fire turnaround, and other requirements and put that to paper and then formally submit it. Is that correct?
That is correct. This is a concept plan, so it goes no further than this discussion. Of course, you can always reach back out with any questions, but coming in for a preliminary plan submittal would be your next step moving forward.
Okay. I think that answers all my questions. Do you have any more for me?
I do not. Does anyone else?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.